Sports are shut down for the foreseeable future, but fortunately we have our first blockbusters of the NFL season to talk about. First up, we have the Cardinals and Texans, who swapped star players in David Johnson and DeAndre Hopkins. I love this move for the Cardinals for a few reasons. The Cardinals' air raid doesn't need a bell cow running back like David Johnson, and if you're Cliff Kingsbury, you're going to take a superstar receiver over a star running back in that system any day. On top of that, Hopkins is probably better at his position than Johnson is, so it's a win-win. For the Texans, I don't think this is some terrible move where they got robbed. First off, having a good quarterback, good running back, and good receivers is still a great situation for them. They got a guy in David Johnson who 2 or 3 years ago was considered one of the best running backs in the league, and that's going to add a whole nother dimension to a passing attack that's going to remain good with Kiki Kuti, Kenny Stills, and Will Fuller. The second round pick they got is also going to help them continue to build a young core or upgrade a defense that already has some good playmakers like J.J. Watt. The other thing I wanted to talk about was the Ereck Flowers signing because it's been pretty controversial. So Ereck Flowers signed a 3-year, $30 million contract with the Dolphins. Ereck Flowers sucked at tackle for the Giants, and there's no sugarcoating that. But that being said, he had a fantastic season as probably the best Redskins lineman last year, and that was his very first NFL experience at guard. The Redskins offered him $8 million a year and ultimately didn't want to match that $10 million a year that the Dolphins offered, which makes sense. Because even though Flowers was genuinely a very good guard, under difficult circumstances, it's tough to give a guy with only one quality season, which was under one of the greatest offensive line coaches ever in Bill Callahan, $10 million a year, especially when you're locked into big contracts like the Redskins are. I think when you're trying to move on from big contracts that didn't quite work out, like Jordan Reed, Paul Richardson, and Josh Norman, the best move probably isn't to go ahead and put yourself in another risky situation. And I want to wrap this up by talking about Ryan Tannehill getting a huge contract, and Derrick Henry is probably going to end up getting the franchise tag as a result. So if I was the Titans GM, I would probably prioritize giving Henry the long-term contract, but I can understand this move. Derrick Henry is definitely a fantastic player, but the Titans didn't get over the hump until Tannehill got the starting gig. The Titans are going to end up losing Jack Conklin, who is their tackle, which will make the Henry less effective. So having a pass attack that is at least going to be a threat is something the Titans do need. Also, if all that turned them from a non-playoff team under Marcus Mariota to a team that beat the Ravens and Patriots in the playoffs was going to Tannehill, then clearly he had a huge impact. Tagging Henry makes sense too because even though he had a monster playoffs, he really hasn't done a whole lot early in the season in either of the last 2 years. And if this guy's expected to be one of the best running backs in football, which he is expected to be, then he needs to produce every single game of the season, not just at the end. Thanks for watching. I'll keep you guys up to date as more news breaks this offseason.